First things first, we're joined by NBA analyst Sareaj Kustok. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for having me back again.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Sarah.
Wonderful, thank you.
How was your weekend?
It was good. It was a lot of basketball games.
Lot to choose
I can't even remember what games I had. It goes so quickly.
Well, I'm going to jog your memory with basketball news. What is going on with the Golden State Warriors these days? That's my question to you, Sarah. It is a full-fledged MASH unit out there. First it was Steph in the ankle, then it was Clay in the thumb, then Draymond on the shoulder. Now Kevin Durant suffered a rib injury that'll sideline him the rest of the month. But other than that, everything is amazing. All right, Sarah, you worried about the Warriors? And if so, how much?
I don't want to turn this into a conversation about any teams other than the Warriors, but I'm more concerned about the Warriors because of how much belief I have in the Houston Rockets. And I think when it comes to the Warriors, we had talked about this last week. Kevin Durant doesn't concern me as much. You look at Klay Thompson, his injury doesn't concern me as much. They still got about 2.5 weeks left in the season. We know the playoffs and the rounds drag out a bit. But with Steph Curry, with his recurring ankle injuries, and just all of these players, the importance that they bring to the team, if they're not fully healthy, I think they're going to have a whole lot of trouble, and not just the Houston Rockets, but even the way they line up against the Portland Trail Blazers. If that ends up being the 2-3, which it's very much looking like, the type of challenges they're going to have in each round is unlike what they had last year.
Well, and the other thing that happened this weekend, and it happened on a Friday night, there's NCAA games going on, late West Coast games, for people who probably aren't paying attention, but the Warriors lost to the Kings. And guess what that means? The Warriors are not the 1 seed. That is over for them. They would need to go undefeated the rest of the way, and if Houston had its worst 12-game stretch of the season. They would need to go 12-0, and if Houston go 8-4 to get the 1 seed by a single game.
I think last week's conversation, we had moved on from Houston was going to be the number 1 seed.
And I don't think there's any question.
It was. We were all assuming last week Houston was going to be the 1 seed.
I mean, we were assuming Golden State was going to rest some players. There was no way they're going to be able to catch Houston, given their injury concern.
But Cece, when we last talked, Durant didn't have the ribs, or we didn't know about it, and we knew that the Warriors had games against the Kings and the Suns, and we knew that, at least I thought going into it, okay, so they'll be 2-0. Like, they're going to be, the Kings aren't even trying to win games, the Suns aren't trying to win games, and so the fact that we can now sit here this morning and say that race is officially over, that matters. Not, and again, maybe people don't care about home court in the Western Conference Finals, that's fine, but it's what Sarah mentioned. Go get Portland, the hottest team in the NBA, winners of 13 straight. Damian Lillard, who is trying to, by the way, steal away Steph Curry's first-team All-NBA guard spot, given Steph Curry's injury and how well Lillard's been playing. Go get them in round 2, a team that right now is playing as well as anyone in the sport. That's what the 2 seed means for them.
Round 2? What about round 1?
And that's
San Antonio.
Question.
Like, forget about the second round. The first round, playing against Popovich and Kawhi coming back in San Antonio. The physicality for which San Antonio will play with. Like, you know they're playing at least 4, and you know that those 4 games are going to be knocked down, drag out. Now, with all the injuries that they had, man, they need, like they had last year, sweep. Like, they need those now more so than ever. We talked about before the season started, Nick, that this would be their toughest run. And then now, okay, man, this is no guess now. Okay, we late in March. This is what it is. They're going to be the number 2 seed, but also Minnesota might be there. San Antonio might be there to face them in round 1. To me, this is their toughest first-round matchup that we've seen since this group collectively has been together, and that was even before KD came.
I was just out in Golden State to call a Warriors game 2 weeks ago, and Steve Kerr said he is not. He said the 2015 season, when I think if you remember, San Antonio dropped from 3 to 6, Oklahoma City missed out because New Orleans won. He said that was the one year he remembers it even being close to as deep in the Western Conference. He said, but that doesn't even compare to this year. He said he cannot look back and remember a time when there was this much depth and this much challenge from 1 through 8, even past 8, than it is this year.
Right. When you look at 5 through 8, all these teams have 40 wins. So you're like, wow, this is the bottom of the Western Conference. And this is the part where there's a huge separation between them and the Eastern Conference. Like, if you're in the East and you're the 2nd seed, 3rd seed, 4th seed, It's okay. You cool. In the Western Conference, absolutely not. This is not the recipe for them to repeat back-to-back champions by facing a team like that in the first round.
Toronto rolls through the East and they
That's the
get to
other
the
thing
finals.
Toronto, go ahead.
No,
Toronto's going to, right now, Toronto is pacing to have, they're a game behind home court on the Warriors, right? So, I mean, all of a sudden, if you believe Toronto's going to make the finals, the Warriors could potentially, if they get there, be on the road in the Western Conference Finals and then on the road again to start the NBA Finals. I want to say one other thing about the bottom of the West. It's also an odd year in this way. San Antonio, bottom of the Western Conference playoff picture. San Antonio, Minnesota. You know what they both should have by the first round of the playoffs? The best player on their team coming back.
Yep.
Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler.
But so,
so
Warriors, right? So the Warriors are going to get themselves back. And if there's any team in the league that you don't have to worry about them needing a couple days to get back on track with how they all play, wouldn't it be the Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, but the physicality of the playoffs is totally different. The speed, the intensity, I mean, for which they play, and the style. The referees allow you to play very physical defense. So the reason why we're concerned about the Warriors because they got some injuries. Now, Clay, we don't know about his thumb, but they're going to be banging that thumb when we get into the playoff. Kevin Durant, man, that's one of the worst injuries is to break your rib or to fracture your rib or to pull the cartilage away from your rib, especially for a basketball player.
Have you had that happen to you?
I haven't had it happen. But we've seen it happen.
Yep.
It's hard to breathe, let alone shoot a basketball and run up and down the court. A football player, we can put a flak jacket on a guy. We can take a needle, shoot it right in there, and numb it. As a basketball player, you can put a little protective around you, but Kevin Durant, to me, he doesn't have the type of body. That's why I'm worried about this injury lingering on because you get hit the wrong way, then you have a little setback. You get another little tear in there. So that's a serious injury for me, for a guy who's a finesse basketball player.
I also think, and I don't know the answer to this, but with Golden State having won 2 of the last 3 NBA championships, looking at the big picture of their organization, if Durant or if Steph Curry, if they're still banged up at some point in the playoffs, I do not believe they risk these players in their overall career in health to just play.
I believe Steph is the only one. I believe the rest of them are going to play. Because with a thumb, with a hairline fracture in the thumb, eventually that's going to seal up, and that's going to be done.
Same with the ribs. The ankle is the one. The
yes.
ankle, what they will not do is put Steph on his brand-new Supermax contract at risk of this ankle injury derailing the next 5 years of his career. I totally agree with you.
I believe the organization would have a hard time keeping Steph off the court. Like, I believe Steph would veto.
He still want to play.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's going to play.
Yeah.
I want to add one name that we have not discussed because there's a butterfly effect to these injuries. Even if they're just being cautious with Durant and cautious with Clay and cautious with Steph, somebody's got to play those minutes. And Andre Iguodala is not younger than he used to be. And you look at the last 2 games, okay, so Andre Iguodala against the Suns played 28 minutes. Against the Kings, he played 31 minutes. That wasn't part of the plan. Part of Golden State's plan was not having Andre Iguodala playing the most minutes he's played all year.
And this has probably been his least productive season of the last 4.
Yeah.
Right. They're basically playing Quinn Cook and Nick Young 40 of 48 guard minutes each because they're out of guards and because they don't really care about their rest level come the playoffs.
Well, there's nothing they can do about it. You got to field the team.
Right. And they could play Sean Livingston more, but they're trying to be cautious with Sean. So they're like, Sean, even if we might drop a game, Nick Young, Swaggy P, and Quinn Cook are going to take those minutes. They can't do that with Iggy. Like, they're running out of forwards as well. They don't want Iguodala to be tired going into the playoffs. We've seen how important he's been for both of their championship years.
And this goes back to last year. They had 4 games in that first round. They had 4 games. And they were playing 4. Now what if a series goes to 6, goes to 7, and it stretches things out more? They don't have the same amount of rest that they had last year during the postseason, and how might that affect them and how they're playing?
And they can't have the same confidence Houston. I watch Houston every time they play.
Man.
There ain't no way they got the same confidence. So playing down the stretch and being together is very important.
And Sarah, to your point, that the 1 year they didn't win the title, I truly believe the Cavs do not beat them in 7 if the Thunder don't take them 7. If the Thunder don't beat them up and exhaust them and make them use every last bit of energy to get out of the West, then all of a sudden, because they looked tired at the end of that series against the Cavs, which was understandable.
I'm usually one at this table that gets dramatic about things and blows that out of proportion. I don't know why I have zero concerns about the Warriors. I feel like they're giving them enough rest, that playoffs are going to start, everything's going to be okay. Now this, sitting next to the guy that has watched more minutes of basketball than I've been alive. So let's
well, no, I mean, I think the general public, I think, agrees with you, Jen.
Oh, okay.
The Warriors, they're the Warriors. They'll be fine.
Sarah, we're going to see you a little bit later in the show. Coming up, who's the favorite to win it all after a crazy weekend of more tennis? It's next on First Things First.